not really wrong. You're just going along for your own good.
Brings us to another one of our themes, which is service to others. No, you're not really wrong just looking out for yourself, and you're just going along for your own good. But there's more. There's more than that. There's making where you are better. There's contributing to others. There's learning every day so you don't remain in ignorance. And there's critical thinking to prevent yourself from being lied to or propagandized. There are a lot of things required to be an intelligent, functioning person. More than just eating, sleeping, working, playing video games, or having fun. And the reason why is we are the middle children of the human population explosion. The human population explosion, which came with the Enlightenment era between 1700 and 1900, when we crossed 1 billion people, and then in the space of 100 years went from 1 billion to 7 billion. Boom. With industry, technology, and science leading the way, and sociology lagging slightly behind, we couldn't stop the train of the momentum of population growth until the late 90s. And now it is practical, and it's science, and it's more realistic to think there are going to be 10 billion human beings on this earth in, say, 30 years. But it is also not impractical or irrational to believe that we will top off at that figure. Now we have to think about what we have done during the human population explosion to the planet. And if you go back to the Anticlimactic Non-Show here on this channel, and you listen to the 50-minute piece by Bill McKibben, who wrote an essay 30 years later. So 2018, he wrote an essay 30 years after he originally wrote an essay about global warming in the world. And if you listen to that, it's just like this news piece by Joe Lepore. It's a chronological discussion about what has happened in those 30 years. And so we ought to be able, with not too much effort, to think forward, to project ourselves into the future and say, well, in 30 years from now, there will be 10 billion of us. So just looking out for myself doesn't seem like a practical or realistic or helpful methodology. I'm going to have to think about how to integrate who these new people are. And when you look at the continuum of how to do that, Hollywood sits way out there with just violence, bombast, and the world ending, and apocalypse, and zombies, and apocalypse, and apocalypse, and we'll have 10 million people dead, and 40 million people die this way, and the Watchmen. Well, we have to kill people so that, the common enemy argument, the constant discourse of the postmodern humanities is filled with anti-science, negativity, apocalyptic visions that are about the butchering of Thanos, half the people, because he believes it's better for society. This is a shallow and pathetic, barbaric, and truly ignorant, limited view. A more intelligent and evolved view is to say, all right, well, cool. We now understand something that, our parents didn't understand about the human population explosion, which is why I call us the middle children of the human population explosion, because we're becoming aware, and what we pass on to our children should be an awareness. And it's okay to change the modality that says my son should have more than me into a modality that says I should have less than my father had, and my son should be able to function with less so that we can absorb the many, many more people there are going to be in this world. And we should learn how to serve others who are suffering because we are not suffering. I think that's philosophically the value of a context like this, is that you can take a philosophy like that, which is extremely broad, decades and generations are involved in thinking this way, and you can give it simple labels for a context. You can say to someone, oh yeah, well, I was listening to a Middle Perch the other day, and he was talking about the human population explosion, and yeah, I do feel like I'm a middle child of it. And if you're someone who doesn't, right, if you're like, human population explosion, what do you mean? Then you're not a middle child of it, and that's okay. You could be still in it, and so you're out partying and not really pulling it back yet. And that's where the folks who are on the other end of the spectrum, the radical environmentalists, would say, don't say that to them. We've already failed. We're already failing. And they need to be punished for this and that, and be told, it has to be beaten into them that we're already 30 years behind. And I think to that crowd, you have to answer, well, science. So you have this continuum of how we're looking at the human population explosion, the HPE, the human population explosion. And I, MTK, at a Middle Perch, I prefer to call it the middle. We're the middle children right now. And we need to work hard to explain the philosophy here. And a barrier to this has been global capitalism. Global capitalism has embarked on a vicious, let's suck out the last of the shit before people realize mentality, which has driven everything from the glioma-inducing cell phones to the oil industry, fracking and toxifying of the earth, to the plastic in the ocean. The global capitalists between 1995 and today have used every method, including war, illegal war, to shove and promote the rapid explosion of a marketization which produces immense amounts of waste for convenience, waste that is collecting everywhere and polluting the world. We have to reconsider this. We have to start looking at it in a new way. And I'm hoping that a channel like this could be a place where we could have discussions about things like that. And we could be rational, and we can be scientific, and we can be artistic, and we can be social, and we can be smart. I myself am an atheist, so I'd prefer if we don't discuss anything here in the context of religion. So I would say that this particular Middle Perch is a secular Middle Perch. It is a democratic Middle Perch, but leaning strongly toward socialist values given the awareness of the human population explosion and where this is all going. It is not acceptable to me to say, all right, well, when every place is capitalist, what will happen is everybody will be competing, and then the people who can't compete will just die of starvation. And so that's normal Darwinism. That to me is an irrational, oversold, extremely barbaric, limited view of us as human beings, placing far too much value on materialism and cash, and not enough on caring for others. I don't need a mansion. I don't need a limo. If you were to try to give me one, I would transmute that into a way to help 50 people or 1,000, right? I'm literally not chasing what these capitalists are telling me to chase, because I think that's a bad mental sequence that we're now globally trapped in. And my resistance is a tiny fingernail, and has been for the 30 years I've been a socialist in the United States of America and abroad and in the art world. So these are the matters I think a middle perch on the internet is hoping to bring to you.